We begin with the demonstrations happening all across the country and Florida this week. Thousands of protesters took to the streets to protest the policies of the Trump administration.
In Tampa, people rallied outside City Hall with the message of hands off, referring to Medicare, Social Security, immigration rights, and reproductive freedom. Saturday was called a National Day of Action, organizing the largest series of protests since President Trump began his second term. People of all ages, from kids to seniors, came out to make their voices heard.
My father survived D-Day and the Bulge, and if he saw the rise of fascism and the level of hate in this country, I'm grateful that they're both gone now, so they're not witnessing this.
Others came out to support President Trump.
Obviously, I don't agree with a lot of the people here. I feel like I can still be here. We're all Americans. There's more that unites us than what divides us.
Financial markets this week have also been uprooted by President Trump's announcement of across-the-board tariffs on dozens of countries. Danny, I'd like to start with you. How do you see all of this? For some who are in favor, they say that these items are long overdue, and yet others are saying this is not necessary and could be very devastating to the economy. What's your take on this?
Well, sure, and thank you for having me on the show. Really appreciate this opportunity. I saw a story this morning. 24,000 Americans, I believe, over the age of 115 had just claimed unemployment. Nearly 28,000 between the ages of 1 and 5 claimed unemployment. There's problems, there's issues out there, and I think I don't quite understand the reticence, the anger over trying to get control over government. And so I wonder what is your argument on the Democrat side? Truly, what is that argument? Is it just to be against or to offer up something in exchange of that? And I'm not seeing that. So President Trump won on November 5th. I would have thought the Democratic Party might have changed a position at that point in time. But instead, it's hands off what? Hands off illegal immigrants, hands off the Trinidad Aragua, hands off transgender children, hands off parents trying to keep their children from being manipulated in school. What is the hands off version of this? So I don't understand that.
Alex, how do you see all of this?
Well, I disagree with you, unsurprisingly, because I think what the story is here locally, more than 10,000 people came out to do these protests, and they're not just all Democrats. There are many people who voted for Trump who said, this is not what I asked for. What we were told is day one, lower prices, lower inflation rates, and instead what we're seeing is higher prices, chances of recession, and just total chaos out there. And I think that what people want is government to be responsive to, what they're feeling. And right now, what we're feeling here in Tampa Bay is the throes of an insurance crisis. I can't tell you how many friends I have who are fighting with their insurance companies. So what we as Democrats say is, let's have government for the people and by the people. And when these people come out to protest, to express themselves, I'm struck by the fact that this is not just a Tampa protest or a St. Pete protest, but there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people in places like Brooksville, in places like Sarasota, who are coming out to express that they don't like the way things are going in this country. And we're relying on the Republicans to do what they say they are going to do, which is lower our prices, make it more affordable for us to live so that we're not hurting.
Eric, from your vantage point, covering this for NPR, what would you say?
I'm not covering this for NPR because I'm a TV critic, but I will say that what I think we're seeing is people reacting to a failure in the separation of powers. The federal government was designed so that Congress would be a check and the judiciary would be a check on presidential power. And what we've seen is several politicians allowing the president to do whatever he wants. And not stand up and say, hey, my constituents don't like this, or hey, this might be illegal. You talked about undocumented immigrants. They need due process. You can't deport somebody because they have a tattoo. You talk about transgender children. Well, they have rights. And there's nothing wrong with being transgender. Why do we have these policies that say that there is? You know, and people are saying that their Congress people and some judges are not standing up in the way they need to stand up. And so you have these public protests to try and force them to live up to the oath that they took to be a check on presidential power. You know, when Joe Biden was in office, we had politicians like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema who constantly checked his policies. Where are their analogs in the Republican Party? We're not seeing it.
Anastasia, when you're covering this, you're interviewing so many different people, very diverse groups are attending these demonstrations.
It's a very diverse group. You know, a lot of older people, younger people. The issues are all over the board. There's a lot of animosity. It becomes a little bit more difficult to determine whether those issues are hangover from Trump's first term or if it's, you know, anger at his new policies. But you know, this week we've seen protests that are bigger than we've seen in his second term. I mean, the only thing that's come close to what we saw in the Women's March. Yet, you know, we had special elections not that long ago, and the Democrats threw money, outraised Republicans almost 10 to 1, and still failed
District 1 and District 6.
Still failed to kind of take those seats. So, will this groundswell of you know, Democratic support or Democratic outrage, will it ever coalesce to see some political movement?